Chat.
Perfect. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Let me do a couple of things.
Morning, people.
All right. And let me download that. This might give me an audio check.
Yeah.
There's old Tinkerbell.
I'm ignoring them today. In fact, I could turn it off, couldn't I?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Zulu, can you tell me if you can hear me?
I'm checking myself. 1 second.
Good to see you. Oscar, Limitless. What's up, buddy? All right. Moving on. Let's get this party started.
Let's go.
All right. So, hopefully you guys were all right. I know I've been off the grid for the last 2 days this whole week because I was in New York dealing with business, and then I took some buddies to the New York Stock Exchange, met up with them, all that stuff. So needless to say, the week's half done, and I've only worked 1 day, and that day is starting today. All right, so starting with the daily chart, we're above previous month 50%. We had a daily close above NFP Friday. Remember, our workflow process says if we see that, we expect it in the month higher, right? So we're anticipating to be around all new highs for the NQ by the end of the month. So by October 30th. All right. Let me fix this real quick. And the cool thing is you guys were able to sit here and listen to me all last month, walk you through this monthly slowdown, right? Moving to the weekly chart, we see that we have 3 options, right? When we're looking at the weekly chart in this constant variable mean, the 5 EMA, right? On the weekly chart, we're just trying to see whatever kind of economic news, whatever kind of earnings plays, like what is the market pricing in, and is it overpriced, right? And so we can see that week 3 we got overpriced between 2.5% and 5. Last week 3 of last month we got up to 3.72, and we instantly noticed that the daily ranges were slowing down. They were getting, the average 10-day range was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then we understood that the daily profiles, which are this screen, well, let me fix this. Right, we noticed that the lows of the days and the highs of the days were flip-flopping, indicating that we were in a range, right? And that was week 4, and now we're in week 4 and week 1 of the month, right? So it's pretty clear to see that that was a monthly slowdown and just a pullback. We weren't expecting a quarterly pullback because we got one of those in August where we got below NFP Friday, we got below previous month 50%, and then we targeted quarterly lows like we saw in August. We were just expecting a monthly slowdown, and that's what we got. And so now we got this daily close that happened yesterday above NFP Friday, indicates that, you know, we're going to anticipate higher prices by the end of the month, right? Moving to this chart, before we get into our statistics, ICT traders use the Sunday opening price to indicate where they are from a weekly standpoint, and DR communities use Tuesday 9:30 to 10:30, so we're going to put those on our charts right now. This is the 1800 hour right there. We can see for the ICT community, we stepped below that on Monday, and we're already back above it. Well, we're messing around in it right now. For the DR community, we can see that they use the 9:30, 10:30 price. And the cool thing about putting both on here is if you go back and put both on your screen, trying to just the right color. That's fine. If you go back to your screen and you put the Sunday and the Tuesday, you realize that one swipes for low and then establishes a low of the week, and then one usually just acts as a support, right? So like some days, Monday will, between Sunday and Tuesday 9:30, like the low of the week will be created. So there's no reason for price to come below that Tuesday 9:30 to 10:30 range, so it just expands, right? And some days it'll be like Sunday will put the low of the week in, and then Tuesday it will just ping pong between it. We saw it a couple weeks ago, right? We're beginning to see signatures of that for this weekly profile, that this 1830 on Monday has the possibility of being the low of the week.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we have momentum up, right, and our expectations are to expect low of the days to happen between 5:30 and 11 o'clock, which we're going to get into because we got new data on that, right? Let's put our, I don't want to see this on this chart. Let me fix this real quick. All right. We don't need a Monte Carlos. All right. So now we're going to get into the statistical part of things, right? First thing we do within our workflow process, we generate market clues, right? What market clues do we see right now? The market clues that we see right now, let me check my chats to make sure nobody's put anything.
Nothing there.
Okay, cool. So these are the 12-hour boxes right here. The one market clue that it's showing is that it respects the midline of this 12-hour box, right? We're going to put this on the daily chart. Draw out our midline of the previous day, right? So that's all the way down here. We're going to keep that in mind. I don't know what this is, but we're going to delete it. All right. We haven't taken out previous day's highs or lows, and we are at 6 o'clock. We will have a new 12-hour period open. All right. So moving on, we're going to put our time-based probabilities on. So those are going to be midnight, low X open, which is 1800, and settlement. Let me go to CME. Thanks to Johnny. I don't know if he's listening or not, but he's a good friend of mine, and he brought up the fact that the settlement price is completely different. Last updated on 11:55 Tuesday. It is completely different than what TradingView is showing us, which is kind of a big deal. So we're going to start experimenting with that and seeing if it makes that big of a deal.
I was thinking about some of the gap stuff and about where these time specific things are. They're going to be inside the gaps, right? So this actually is quite cool if it's outside of the gap time, and I don't know yet because that was too small. But
yeah. All right. So now let's put on this 16:15 settlement. And today is not off by, well, let me get it. So it's off by looks like 6 handles. 6 handles, which is fine. All right, let's put our midnight price in place. And let's put it on Globex open in place. The cool thing about talking to traders on the floor on the New York Stock Exchange and working through their workflow process with them, you know, like you'd be surprised how much simulated data, how much data that they use and how similar they trade like most of us, right? The difference between them and us is they know how to hedge their losses. They know how to make proper decisions at the proper time, right? And they know how to position size. They're actually forced to position size correctly. And like one thing that you'll notice when you talk to these people who manage a market for yield or make a market, right, is that, you know, like decision making is the most important part, right? Problem solving and decision making at the craziest parts of the open is what gives them their edge, right? All right, real quick, let's put our time or structure-based probabilities on right now. Right, so this 12-hour high, right, is at 1905. So 1905. Where the hell is my? All right, good thing you got it.
87%.
All right.
That's on the 15, okay?
Okay. 2029687. And then the low is 320. 320 in the morning.
Yeah, 75. I think. I'll call it 76, 75.9, I think.
All right. All right, so now what we're going to do, because we have a new system, and eventually the system will be released to you guys once it's coded up. I guess we can share it, huh?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Let me get this going. And this is going to be open to the public soon. All right, so we have our time-based probabilities on. How do I get rid of this?
Yeah,
Use
the
this
arrows
right?
bar, yeah.
Okay, cool.
You can make the zoom fit as well, your screen size if you want. That's it.
There we go. All right, so we're going to jump back and forth. For now, we're going to make sure that our free ICT one setup for life is on. And for now, we're using the DR times for their ranges. So this would be 1930 to 2030. This would be 3 to 4. But in the future, right, we'll be using completely different times because there's certain data that makes it even more reliable. And so we're currently coding that up and running the numbers for that. All right, so now we're going to put our projection-based probabilities on here, right? And that would be based off of what Asia did, the variables that Asia did, the variables that London did, right? And so forth and so forth. All right, so now should be in the standard range. And if I mess this up, just let me know because this is my first time using it.
Yeah.
So right here, we're going to say Asia went long to be false, right? Oh, real quick, let me put my OU lines on. So this is Asia OU, and this is London OU. And remember, these OU lines are alerts for decisions, right? So if we're above it and we're crossing below it, right, that's an alert to tell you that probabilities throughout the days are going to be shifting, just like the 9:30 price or the 9:30 to 10:30 midpoint, right? You're always looking at them and you're always thinking about how price relationship with those, and if they alert by crossing them, where's the confirmation? And then you're alert that the probability is going to shift, right? And then where's the confirmation of the probability shift? In this case, it will be this Asia low, London. Like let's say we come back down and we're crossing the London OU, right? We're thinking probabilities are shifting, right? And the confirmation of those probabilities are shifting are going to be this London low. All right, so that's a long, that's a false. Did you change it?
No, that's because this version I saved and just sent
Okay.
in, it carried forth the selections. I'm going to
Long,
build a function to
false.
reset. Don't worry.
I like this. Yeah, I'm not going to put true or false because it's too early in the day for that. But eventually, like I'll have London true or false, which will lock in what London's done.
Yeah.
Right. What are the New York Eurozone probabilities? Okay. So now this is telling me the scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And then this high of day, low of the day, like if I, so this is a 0.8, so is that 0.8%?
Correct. Correct.
So like if I wanted to draw in a dish show, that would be from the 1800, right?
Correct.
So Globex open between 0.8. Wouldn't that be cool? It's around previous day midpoint. So the blue line, the blue dash, what is this 0.6? And then this is the mode in the medium?
No. So the red line is the median, the blue line is the average, and the black line is the variance.
So I want to go off this one, this black line.
Probably more the red one, yeah. If there was like a range for me, I'm thinking red to blue to give you a zone.
So it'd be like from 0.6 to 0.88.
Potentially, yeah.
This is a new feature, so it's just something that we're going to start working into our workflow. And then high of day would be 0.71 to 0.99.
Yeah. Based on the variables that we have now, obviously, right?
Based off of what we have now, variables.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll mess around with it. Bitch, what did I do?
Full screen.
There we go. All right, back to our workflow process. So now we see that there's two possible scenarios, right? Yeah. Scenario one, let's write this out, is that we stay above this London midline and stay above this London low, right, between now and 8:30.
Yeah.
And with that being said, that will give us the 9:30 to 10:30 probabilities above London high, low, and Gulf London.
Yeah.
And then below London's high, and then 10:30 on probabilities.
Yeah.
Right. So we can see that's the scenario we're currently at. We can see that above London low is a 45%. In Gulf London is a 27%. Below London, London's high. Actually, if I should put this on true. to build that scenario in. All right, let's do this again. So,
sorry, just one thing to say.
mm-hmm.
You'll note, you can see on the screen that we have, obviously you've done something there because I can see 83 data sets on yours, I think.
Yeah, 83.
Yeah, why have I got more? I don't know. Is this something selected somewhere else?
You should have a clear filter where it resets everything. You just click the clear filter and it resets the whole thing.
I'm going to do that very quickly now. I have at 111. I only wanted to point out that if you scroll down on the one that you have there, and I'm sorry to bring this up now, can you see on the London confirmation?
Yeah, multiple selected.
Yeah.
Oh, you put the confirmation time in. Yeah, let's deselect that.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Good night. So now we have 203 data sets. So out of 4,300, like just with the variables. Okay, cool. Perfect. So let's try this again. 56, 24, 19. That's good enough. All right, and then the direction, you can see based off of what this scenario is, there's a 49% probability that we go long at 10:30, and there's a 44% probability that we go short. So we're going to put long, 49%, and then we're going to start building in scenario 2. Scenario 2 is London breaches or breach London's low by 08:30, 9:30 to 10:30, and obviously the alert for this will be, since we were just talking about it, will be this London OU line, and then the confirmation will be the London low, right? 9:30 to 10:30 above London low, yep, engulf London, and then below London high, right? And then what's going to happen 10:30 on. And so to make that right here true, we're going to change this true to false, right? And you say, give me that give me those probabilities right there. We're going to do 48%. This one, 36%, which for most of the days when 9:30 to 10:30 makes the low of the day, you're going to get this range X. So if you see that London was engulfed, there's a high likelihood of that low of the day or high of the day, right, to actually play out. 16%, and then 10:30 on. Now look at this. New York direction after 10:30 is a 62% probability of a long after 10:30. So that's saying, let me write this down, 62% long. So that's saying if this is my 9:30 to 10:30, and we engulf London, right? So what price is actually doing is it's going down, establishing the low of the day, and then going to end the day higher as such, right? And now knowing that we're above previous month 50% in NFP Friday, we expect higher closes for the month, right? I'm not saying every day is going to be a higher close than the open, but that's what we're anticipating. All right, so now we're going to put this back on the most likely probability, which is we're going to do all, right? So we have 253 data sets that did what London and Asia has done. Now we're going to go over to Asia daily probabilities. We're going to come over to the VET. We're going to turn that on. I'm going to put this on, what's today, Wednesday?
Wednesday. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be Tuesdays. All right, now we have actual probabilities to put in here, right? So we already touched the 2.5, no sense putting that probability in. Now we're going to put a 5. And that is at 2316. And so that's going to be the positive 5. What is that, 64%?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for mine to load.
Yeah.
It's going really slow. Yeah, 64%.
What's the 8?
42%.
All right, and we've already touched all downside targets.
We have.
Right? So now we can see that the plus 12.5, right? All the way to 12, this right here, all the way up to this right here, all falls within the 10-day average daily range and the 8-week weekly range, right? So we can put those probabilities as well in here. All right. Now, 37.5. All right, we can turn that off. Well, actually, one thing we have to check out,
Yeah.
the dish rows.
There's a, when you're ready, I'd like to show you something which might aid that.
Give me a second.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's put these on. Okay. So out of the average 10-day range, the average 10-day range is 311. Out of that 311, we've already moved 32% of that for today. Out of the weekly range, we've already moved our 427%, right? So what does that mean? Remember last Friday, we had moved 453 for the whole week. Now it's Wednesday, and we've moved the exact amount of 20, 50 handles off, right? Of what took last week, we did in 2 days this week. So that's telling you what kind of markets you're already in, right? So, like, does that make sense to you guys? Remember Friday, we were looking at the average weekly range. We said there's still 400 handles still left on the table. We're at that point on Wednesday morning already. So the market is moving a lot more than it was last week when we were doing our monthly slowdown. All right. So, all right. What'd you have?
Yeah, it's just if you click on the London tab in the app.
Wait a minute. Which one am I using? It should be
It's
this
5.
one right here. The DB5, right?
Yeah. So,
All right.
yeah, so we got some information there based upon the settings that we have on the other page, right, which show us the candle high and low to where you are just there, potentially from the open of the London candle, right?
So this is saying open to high. So
yes,
for 3, the high, right?
yeah, and something similar with the low of the candle as well, right? As a percentage of the open.
That's pretty cool. And we're gonna start building some of this into our workflow system, but I don't want to overwhelm them all at once.
No, God, no.
Does that make sense? And that gives us time to, really get our Asian and London kill zones correct based off of retracement and extension data. So using what we are allowing data to tell us instead of doing 1930 or 2030, because M7 said use that instead of using you know, 1800 to 02, because ICT told us we've got the data that tell us with over time which range is the most highest probable for the consolidation accumulation, and which time frame is the best for the trend for that session, and that's what we're going to use. All right, so still got plenty of time. Now we're going to work on our distros.
Yeah.
Right. So now we know that our average daily range is 311. That's a good band, by the way. Saw them live. 311. So 1.49%. We need to be on there we go. We need to be on the 5-minute chart because we only want the last quarter's worth of distro data. We don't need data beyond that for how far we're expecting to move, because this is the current market we're currently in, and this is the averages that we want. You see 0.41. So on average, we know that 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock moves 0.41%. So for you reversion to the mean traders, right, you can anticipate between 4 and 8, like once we get to one side, you can start taking your reversion to the mean once you have your fixed variable. All right, so from 8 to 12, 1.18. And then from 12 to 16, 1.06. All right, so the one we'll put into place right now is the 4 to 8.
Yeah, I got the same.
Just like that. All right, so now we know where's our scenarios that we wrote out right here. Right now, the price is staying above London low until 8:30. That's the highest probable one. Now, this is where knowing your scenarios and knowing these distros synchronize, right? So as we approach the upper limits of this 4 to 8 average, right, what we can anticipate, right, is that it comes up, the structure stat 1, which has all these probability clusters right there, and even between now and 8 o'clock, it can come down and put us in scenario 2, right? And all that could happen between 8:30 or now and 8, right? So we always keep that in mind, right? And then that's going to impact this distribution right here, right? We anticipate that one of these spikes will happen to establish the low of the day between 8 and 12. What's 12? This should be at 1.18. Right there. we do expect something like such, right? Like, and it's a pretty cool zone you got here, because now I can like truly establish my low day high of the day, right? We can see between our two scenarios that 1030 on, 49% long, 62% long, both scenarios indicated higher probabilities to close the day higher than the open. Well, if the open is at Globex open right above here, then we expect the second, this 12 to 1600 variable to look like such. All right, and then we already have our awesome little high day scenarios. Move this in 1600 right there. And this is on 06, just like such. All right, and that's how you tie it all together. All right, and then now all you have to do is have your live trading chart up, right? And then on the right hand side, you have your expectations, right? And you're managing like the probabilities inside of your brain and the if-then statements, and then what is live price telling me? And you're lining it up with simple things like this was yesterday, which I didn't do a show yesterday because I was out of town. But like right here, like if I'm expecting, actually, you know what? This is a good time to talk about what we saw yesterday. Kind of like we were talking before the show. Let me copy that, copy image. So if we have these probabilities and we have the expectations, why will this not copy on here? Let me screenshot it. Open in browser, copy image. It's gonna be somewhere on my chart. I just can't find it. Nope. There we go. All right. So this was yesterday's probabilities right here, right? And the highest probability was downward movement, like this, like such, right? And guess what? When we looked at this, when live price started hitting at 9:30, right? This green one is the 9:30 candle, right? We're anticipating for it to start dropping, right? And we had the London OU line right here. Just like such. And now we have the London OU line and the 9:30 price, right? And statistically, based off what Asia, London, and all that says that we should be dropping, right? But remember what I say, when you do this, like live price always gets the trumpet, right? So as price is playing, we notice the details, right? And the details, remember I told you guys always need to grab the 9:30 to 10:30 range and draw it out as it's happening, and pay attention to this midline of that and the relationship in the 9:30 candle, right? Because like that will give you realistic expectations that what probabilities it's respecting, right? And so you can see yesterday that if it was going to respect this lower movement, well, the first thing that needs to happen is we need to get below the average, or the 9:30 to 10:30 mid and the 9:30, and then start digging into the London open. However, you couldn't do that, right? So that's 10:30. So as it continues to go higher, right, just like such, we know, and I gave you guys this exercise, we know that it's respecting this scenario right here, the upper scenario, more than the highest probable scenario. So you have to turn the switch off in your brain to rely on the highest probability and go with the probabilities that live price is giving you, right? And right now, this is coming up on 10:30, which is right there. So let's fast forward it, right? And this is 9:30 to 10:30. We can't make it back to the midpoint of that range, and we can't make it below 9:30. So why would I be relying on the scenarios where we're going to come down and breach London OU and go lower for the day when live price is saying, no, bud, we're not doing that today, right? So now I go with the scenario, right? That tells me that we have higher prices, and then I'm lining up. Like, so in this case, remember I gave you guys that assignment, to define what the RTH is going to be. Is it going to be a DNP trend, DWP, directional with pullback versus range? Well, the probabilities, either way it goes, tell us that this is a directional with pullback style day. So my hourly boxes should look as such, right? I should be expecting higher pricing, but previous hours lows to be taken during that turnaround time frame. That turnaround time frame, we said statistically from 11:45 to 13:15. If we're going to make a shift in the RTH, it's going to happen during that time, and the hourlies will tell us that, right? All right, the hourlies are telling us that we can't get below previous hour mids and can't even dig back into the previous hour. That's a sign of strength for now. Now, in this case, we're testing the previous hour mid. I don't have the 5-9 boxes up right now, but that would be another thing I'm considering.
Yeah.
Right now, we can see that this previous hour mid is holding price up. I guess we could put the 5-9 box. No, because then you lose reality with where the RTH is. All right, so now, the 12 o'clock, remember, we're within that turnaround period, right? 11:45 to 13:15. If we expect to go lower, it needs to happen within these time frames. Well, the first indication is right here, this midpoint of the whole range, then the 9:30, and for us to stay below the previous hour midpoint and continue making lower lows on the hour, right? If not, it's going to be a directional with pullback, not a range.
Swiping the mids there, and every time in those last two boxes, down, up, down, up, down.
All right, so now we're starting to get the probability of a range is starting to play out, right? Because we're at 12 o'clock, we're drifting back to that 9:30 price, right? So now at this point, we know it's not going to be a trend day, but now in our brains, we're saying directional with pullbacks or range day. It's going to be one of the two, and we've already dismissed the probability of the highest probable low, like directional day to the downside. But the highest probable is that it's going to be a directional with pullback, right? This is showing us this blue shaded line, which is the probabilities, right? Is showing us directional with pullback. So as this is playing out, we're just waiting for live price to confirm it. Right now, it's 1300 and it hasn't confirmed anything yet, right? Other than the fact that, yeah, I won't talk about that. The moment, now each hour I'm thinking the same thing. Previous hour mid, current mid. Previous hour mid, current mid. I see that we're taking out previous hour lows, right? And if this is going to be a directional with pullback, it needs to happen sooner or later, and it needs to step over this midline and over the 5-9 box and find footing on it, right?
Yeah,
if not, anticipating price to get back below this 930. It starts stepping above the mid. Nope. Now it's stepping above its mid, and it's going to find support in. And now we're paying attention to this hour's mid, right? It's stepping above this one. We expect it to come retest at fine footing and then step above this previous hour mid, et cetera, et cetera. And in 15 minutes at 1400, we have a new H4 candle.
Yes. I was just going to ask about the close of there.
So now we're above the last 2 hour midpoints, right? Now we're above previous hour mid, and now we're taking out previous hour low, confirming that this was a directional with pullback style day, right? Which confirmed the statistics that we had.
Here she goes.
Yep. All right. So hopefully that helped. And Lucky Cat, can you make this screen 1080? Hard to see. Sorry about that. I always forget to change that. I need to change that. Tomorrow before I go live, Costa, will you remind me to put it on 1080? But other than that, I'm going to jump. It's time to trade.
Cheers, guys.
All right. Later, guys and gals. Hope you got any questions. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mickey, but based on my understanding, the previous day midpoint level is blah, blah, blah.
Not seeing any questions.
It's in the Discord.
Ah.
Because I care about I've got the previous day midpoint marked up, and I've got the previous 12-hour midpoint marked up, right? So this is the previous 12-hour. Now, that was one of the first steps, is putting the previous day mid. Let me delete this one. And if you look right here, this pink dotted line, let me make that big bold something. There we go. Now we'll be able to see it. Because I like these boxes being on 12-hour, not the daily. So I know what I'm looking for.
I got these stats coming in that app, by the way.
Nice.
We'll have those probabilities and various other probabilities, which we can talk about at the right appropriate time.
I don't know how you got the mid at 2192, right? Like, what are you measuring that off of, Mr. 15-bit? This is from high to low. From high to low, low of the day being 1820, high of the day being 1550. Midline. Cool. All right. All right, I'm jumping. Later.
Cheers, guys. You okay?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, just a couple of things for me before I sign off.
Real quick, I'm still